I would like to call to order this regular meeting of the Board of Retirement of LACERA. It is 9:20 on Thursday, June 10th. And Bonnie, would you read your readings and take the roll?
Yes, so thank you, Chair Bernstein. This meeting is being conducted as a hybrid virtual meeting, so I will go ahead and do a roll call of the trustees to confirm attendance. Mr. Pryor? I see you here. Mr. Knox?
Morning.
Ms. Gray?
Morning.
Morning, Mr. Santos?
Good morning.
Mr. Oakham?
Morning.
Mr. Moore?
Here.
Mr. Kehoe? Mr. Harris? I see you here. Mr. Robbins?
Present.
Ms. Apanta?
Morning.
Going back to Mr. Kehoe? I see him in the meeting platform. And Chair Bernstein?
I'm here.
Thank you. Staff participating in the meeting include the CEO, Santos Kryman, AEO, JJ Popovich, Interim Chief Counsel, Johanna Fontenot, Senior Staff Counsel, Frank Boyd, Chief Investment Officer, John Grable, LACERA's Medical Advisor, Dr. Vito Campisi. Disability Retirement Specialist Supervisors include Tamara Caldwell, Vicki Neely, Carrie Wilson, Ricardo Salinas, and Hernan Barrientos. Vincent Lim, Jason Waller, Allison Barrett, and Eugenia Durr from the Disability Litigation Team also join us. Trustees, if you have a comment or question on any item, please use the Zoom chat option to be placed in the queue. At this time, we ask all meeting participants to mute their mics until you are ready to speak, and we may proceed with the agenda.
Thank you very much, Bonnie. We are on to item 2, public comment. I am not aware of any requests from the public to speak. We do.
Zhang, I'm going to go ahead and admit her into the meeting now. One moment.
Great.
Ms. Zhang, you have been admitted into the Board of Retirement meeting. You may enter *6 to be unmuted. You will have 3 minutes to address the board, and you may begin when you are ready. Ms. Zhang, go ahead and enter *6 to unmute. Okay, there she goes. Ms. Zhang, you may begin now.
Hi, good morning. My name is Janice Zhang. I want to address the board about the problems I have with my appeal. First, let me tell you briefly why I appealed to LACERA. I was a senior court interpreter for the Los Angeles Superior Court. A court interpreter is a court officer who automatically becomes a member of LACERA on the first day of her employment pursuant to LACERA Code Section 31554. But
No, she's not.
Please go ahead.
okay, but LACERA denied my membership. That is a violation of that law. This is one of the issues I am appealing. The second issue is my appeal process has not been handled properly. Level 1 appeal took 70 days to render a decision without any investigation relating to my appeal. HR falsified my employment record, making me an hourly paid employee, which I was not, to deny my LACERA pension and medical benefits. On level 2 appeal, I asked Mr. Popovich what question he asked and what was the answer he received on the pertinent issue of whether I was an hourly paid employee. A simple, straightforward email or a phone call to HR's payroll supervisor, Blake Worth, will answer the question. But Mr. Popovich never answered my question. He never did. I'm not even sure he asked the question to HR. 5 months into this appeal process, LACERA Appeals intentionally did not verify, investigate, or consider the evidence I submitted. One of the customer service supervisors, whose name is Valerie, told me LACERA takes HR statement as true, even if it is false. And Mr. Popovich told me LACERA has no jurisdiction to correct fraud, omissions, or mistakes by HR. It's quite shocking to hear from people at a management level the decision makers on my appeal say they take false information as true. It answered the question why LACERA appeals did nothing to correct the wrong. My understanding is that it is the mandate for LACERA to correct fraud, omissions, or mistakes pursuant to LACERA Code sections of 31543, 31535, 31541, 31541B, and the 31539. From what I know, Mr. Popovich will not resolve this matter at his level. I ask the board to appoint an impartial and experienced referee to this matter pursuant to LACERA Code section 31533, who can examine, audit, subpoena, or have a hearing with witnesses if necessary to give the board a fair and just recommendation on my appeal.
Thank you, Ms.
Thank
Zhang.
you very
Your
much
time
for
is
your
up.
consideration. Huh?
Thank you so much
Yes.
for your comments.
Okay. So do you have any questions to
We are
ask
not,
me?
thank you so much for your comments. We are not legally allowed to ask questions at this time. We will take your matter under consideration.
Yes. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We are done with public comment unless there are other requests. We are done. We are on to item 3, our CEO update. Mr. Kryman.
Yes, Chair Bernstein, trustees, good morning. I just wanted to give you a brief update on our recruitment efforts. I circulated the resume of Mr. Louis Lugo from Minnesota Para to serve as the LACERA's Deputy Chief Executive Officer. And so we're in the process of scheduling meetings with the board chairs and vice chairs to meet Mr. Lugo. And then we will proceed to schedule meetings with individual trustees as well, to the extent that you feel it would be beneficial to meet with Mr. Lugo prior to his arrival here in mid-July. And so we're excited about him joining the team. He needs to relocate from Minnesota. And like I said, we believe that he'll be, his first day at LACERA will be on July 12th of 2021. So in terms of the recruitment efforts for the Assistant Executive Officer position over the administration, we had a pool of about 13 candidates that had gone through the initial screening process. We whittled it down to 5 finalists, and so they're moving forward and will be interviewed by a panel. Once the panel interviews them, there will be 2 or 3 candidates that will be moved on to myself and make a selection at that point in time. We're hopeful that the AEO will also be on board sometime in July. In terms of our efforts, our recruitment efforts for a budget officer, we have identified an individual that we have made an offer to. So that individual is in the process of going through a background check. Once that's completed, we'll hopefully be able to negotiate the final terms of that employment as well. We're hopeful that that individual will be able to start also in July. So we have a lot to look forward to in terms of July, welcoming some new managers into the organization. And so I'm happy to report that we're making good progress. I did also want to make sure that I mentioned to you that OSHA on June 3rd voted to re-adopt the emergency temporary standards for the COVID prevention that went into effect on November 30th with some important updates and revisions. And I believe Cal OSHA also had a meeting yesterday to discuss the final language that would be included in the order. These standards are more stringent than the recent CDC guidance for fully vaccinated people. Fully vaccinated employees can remove face coverings only if they are alone in a room or everyone in the room is vaccinated. Physical distancing measures will continue to be required until July 31st, unless respirators are provided to unvaccinated employees. So we as a practical matter, these differences between vaccinated and unvaccinated employees is only relevant if LACERA tracks vaccinated employees by requiring proof. And so as a result, I've given instructions to staff to update our policies and procedures when it comes to our COVID protocols. And then I've also asked them to come up with a process for us to verify that our employees have been vaccinated so that we can identify the number of respirators, for example, that we'll need moving forward after July 31st. And so we're still waiting on June 15th for the governor to make his changes or his updates to his particular emergency orders when it relates to public meetings. And so once we have that information, we'll update all of the plans and make sure that we report back to the boards on the new information that we receive. So with that, I'm willing to stand for questions.
Are there any questions? I do have a question, or at least for clarification. It actually sounds like the orders do not apply to trustees and members of the public. It sounds like employees are going to have to continue to be masked. I think we need to clarify that.
Yeah, we will make sure that we take the public into consideration with whatever plans we come up with, as well as the trustees. And so we're going to have a conversation with the chairs about voluntary compliance, for example, of trustees. And we just want to make sure that everybody's safe.
Are there any other questions? Then let's move on. Thank you very much, Mr. Kryman. We are on to disability retirement applications on consent calendar. We will start with our safety SCD applications, applications number 469D through 48060.
I'll move it.
Second.
Second prior.
Okay, and who made the motion?
Sean. Kehoe.
Okay, motion by Kehoe, seconded by Pryor. We need a roll call, Bonnie.
Mr. Knox?
Aye.
Ms. Gray? Mr. Sanchez?
Aye.
Thank you. Mr. Santos?
Aye.
Mr. Oakham?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Mr. Kehoe?
Aye.
Mr. Robbins?
Aye.
Ms. Zapanta?
Aye.
Chair Bernstein?
Aye.
The motion passes unanimously.
Thank you very much. We are now, and that was for safety workers. We're now on to safety SCD for fire and lifeguards applications 1353B through 1366B.
So moved. Prior.
Second, Oakham.
Moved by Pryor, seconded by Oakham. Roll call, Bonnie, please.
Mr. Pryor?
Aye.
Mr. Knox?
Aye.
Ms. Gray?
Aye.
Mr. Santos?
Aye.
Mr. Oakham?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Mr. Robbins?
Aye.
Ms. Zapanta?
Aye.
Chair Bernstein?
Aye.
The motion passes unanimously.
Thank you very much. We are now on to general member SCD applications, applications number 2229C through 2249C.
I'll move it, Oakham.
I'll second.
Moved by Oakham, I believe,
Yep.
and seconded by somebody.
Mr. Knox?
By Knox, thank you. All right, let's take a roll call.
Mr. Knox?
Aye.
Ms. Gray?
Aye.
Mr. Santos?
Aye.
Mr. Oakham?
Excuse me, aye.
Mr. Moore? Mr. Kehoe?
Aye.
Mr. Robbins?
Aye.
Ms. Zapanta?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Chair Bernstein?
Aye,
The motion passes unanimously.
thank you. And finally, for consent, we are on to an NSCD application for a general member, application number 4404.
Move it, Oakham.
Moved by Oakham,
Knox will second.
seconded by Knox. Roll call, please.
Mr. Knox?
Aye.
Ms. Gray?
Aye.
Mr. Santos?
Aye.
Mr. Oakham?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Mr. Kehoe?
Aye.
Mr. Robbins?
Aye.
Ms. Zapanta?
Aye.
Chair Bernstein?
Aye.
The motion passes unanimously.
Great, thank you very much. We are done with item 4. We are on to item 5, consent items. I have 4 items, 5A through 5D, which are all on consent. I've had no request to pull for discussion, so I'd be happy to entertain a motion to move all 4 items.
So moved.
Moved by Gray
Keith, I'll second.
and seconded by Knox. Bonnie, can we get a roll call, please?
Mr. Knox,
Aye.
Ms. Gray,
Aye.
Mr. Santos,
Aye.
Mr. Oakham,
aye,
Mr. Moore,
Aye.
Mr. Kehoe,
Aye.
Mr. Robbins,
Aye.
Ms. Aponte,
Aye.
Mr. Bernstein.
Aye.
The motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. We are on to item 6. Items excluded from consent, and there are none. So we are on to item 7. We have an FYI report submitted by our Disability Retirement Services Division Manager, Ricky Contreras. It is for information only. Are there any questions? Then thank you for the excellent report, and we will move on to items from staff review.
No items to report.
We are on to good of the order. Bonnie, would you call the roll call
Absolutely.
and key staff? Thank you.
Mr. Pryor,
Nothing, thank you.
Mr. Knox,
Nothing, thank you.
Mr. Santos,
Nothing, thank you.
Mr. Oakham,
nothing, thank you.
Mr. Moore,
I have nothing to add.
Mr. Kehoe,
Nothing on my end.
Mr. Robbins.
I just have one thing. I would urge all the board members. I was going through the minutes of, going through the information from the last meeting that Mr. Liu had given us, and I would urge everybody to read AB 761. And it's what Orange County is doing to basically take their employees and make them employees of the pension fund and not the county. So we talked about this some time ago, and I know Vivian, you and I talked about it, but the bottom line is, I think what Orange County, what they're doing out there is kind of interesting. And if we don't get the county to play ball with us, maybe we just move in the same direction. Okay, that's it.
Thank you. Mr. Harris,
No comment.
Ms. Aponte,
Nothing, thank you.
Ms. Gray.
Nothing, thank you.
Thank you. JJ Pavlovich,
Nothing, thank you.
Ms. Fontenot.
Good morning, everyone. No, I have nothing. Thank you.
Thank you. Santos Kryman,
Nothing for me, thank you.
Chair Bernstein.
Thank you, Bonnie. First of all, June is Pride Month, so I just want to wish everyone a very happy Pride Month. And second, on a sad note, we found out yesterday, and not everyone may know this, but we are allowed by the family to share this. Joe Kelly, Mr. Kelly, his sister-in-law died suddenly yesterday and very tragically. Joe serves on the BOI and obviously served with many of us on the BOR for years. And I would request without objection that we adjourn today's meeting in memory of Joe's sister-in-law, Mary Parks Kelly. So seeing no objection, we will do that. And we are now ready to move into closed session.